Hello students, welcome back to MNR's digital classes. This is the third lecture on acoustics. In this part of lecture, we are going to discuss about the requisites for good acoustics. The essential content for this lecture is gathered from Engineering Physics by G. Arundas and Waves and Oscillations by Bridlal and Subramanian. In a hall that is to be acoustically well designed, the essential requirement is the sound produced at one place, whether it is a speech or a music, should reach each and every point of the hall with required audibility, and the sound should not die away at early instant of time. In 1911, Professor W.C. Sabine laid down the following essential features are the demand for a hall or an auditorium to be considered as an acoustically fit building. The first key feature is optimum reverberation time. It must have adequate loudness with uniform projection. The third feature is elimination of undesired focusing due to shape of the surfaces and interference effects. There should be good clarity and articulation of the sound. Absence of annoying echoes, removal of Eklund effect, minimization of structural resonance, and the last one is noise insulation. These are the key factors or the features which decides the acoustical features of any building. Let us discuss one by one in detail. The factors affecting the architectural acoustics and their remedies. In an acoustically good hall, every syllable or the musical note reaches every point in the hall at an audible level of loudness and then quickly dies away to make the place for the next syllable. Any deviation from this makes the hall acoustically defective. The sound should reach each and every point and quickly dies out so that the next syllable will take the place of that initial sound. The architectural acoustic properties depends on the shape and size of the volume, the shape and size of the hall, nature of the absorbing materials present inside, the structural parameters, and the effects of sound propagation such as reflection, interference, echoes, and resonance. These are the key factors which are to be considered for the good acoustical design. The first one is reverberation time. The reverberation time must be optimum. For good acoustics, the reverberation time should neither be too small or not too large. If it is too small, the loudness will be inadequate and the sound dies away in a very short time, producing the dead effect. And if the time is too large, then the sound will retain in the hall for a longer time, resulting in the overlapping of the successive notes and leads to confusion. The acoustics of an auditorium can be improved by using the surfaces with high absorption coefficient. This will reduce the reverberation time below the optimum value. Now let us understand the remedies for achieving the reverberation time. The reverberation time of a hall can be controlled by the following factors. by providing a few open windows covered by heavy curtains with folds and ventilators. Generally, we know that the size of the hall will be big to occupy more number of audience. As a result of this, reverberation time will increase as T is directly proportional to volume of the hall. So naturally the reverberation time is high, which leads to confusion. To avoid this confusion, reverberation time has to be reduced. That can be achieved by providing open windows covered by heavy curtains with folds and ventilators. These open windows will absorb the sound energy and increases the affecting absorbing power and hence decreases the reverberation time to optimum value. Depending on the requirement, the windows can be kept open or closed partially or completely to achieve optimum reverberation value. The floors must be covered with carpets and upholstered seats should be provided so that the absorption is approximately the same with or without the audience. The wall should be engraved for roughness and lined with decorative materials, pictures and maps to increase the absorption. If the walls are made smooth, then reflection probability increases, which leads to increase in the reflection coefficient and else reverberation time increases. To avoid the increased reverberation time, the walls should be engraved for roughness and they are lined with decorative materials. Pictures are to be placed at suitable positions. Pictures and our maps are placed at suitable positions so as to increase the absorption and hence to keep the reverberation time in optimum value. Inclusion of suitable sound absorbing materials. The materials having high absorption coefficient such as perforated cardboards, felt, asbestos, fiberboards, glass and wool materials which have porous structure and rough surfaces. And using these sound absorbers in the ceiling results in more absorption of energy, which keeps the reverberation time reduced to optimum value. Having audience as per capacity of the hall. As human beings are good observers, each person is equivalent to about 0.5 meter square area of an open window. So, if the hall is completely filled with the audience, the reverberation time will be reduced because of the increased absorption coefficient. The last one is the proper balance between high and low frequencies of sound. This is achieved, the balance is achieved by having a longer reverberation time for low frequencies, which is longer than that of the higher frequencies. The reverberation time is adjusted for a lower value for high frequency sounds and higher value for low frequency sounds. This proper balance will lead to optimum reverberation value. The second key feature is adequate and uniform projection of the sound energy. There should be adequate loudness and uniform projection of sound. A short reverberation time is achieved by using large absorbing materials which will minimize the chances of confusion between the different syllables of sound. In the previous part, to keep the reverberation time to optimum value, we learned that suitable absorbing materials are used to avoid the confusion between different syllables. We know that the reverberation time of a hall is directly proportional to loudness. So, in order to maintain the optimum value of reverberation, if we use the absorbing materials, that will lead to decrease in loudness. So the loudness of the sound will drop below the level of hearing. So the source should produce or the source should generate sound of large intensity such that the sufficient loudness is perceived at every portion of the hall for satisfactory hearing by the audience. When the reverberation time is kept below the minimum value, the optimum value, that leads to reduction in the loudness of the sound. So in order to maintain the proper loudness of the sound, the source should generate the sound of large intensity as that the sufficient loudness is perceived at each and every portion of the hall. This can be achieved by different methods. Thus, similar to reverberation time, the loudness of the sound in a hall must also be made as an optimum value. Now let us understand the remedies for maintaining the adequate loudness in the hall. The following arrangements would increase the loudness. The adequate loudness can be achieved by using equipments like electrically amplified loudspeakers at suitable positions so that each and every part will be having adequate loudness. The loudness of the sound is not only adequate, but it should be projected uniformly. The sound should be projected uniformly through the entire hall. A good auditorium will accomplish effective projection of sound to the rear of the auditorium so that those distant listeners will not experience extreme loss of sound level caused by inverse square law. You know that according to inverse square law, intensity is inversely proportional to square of the distance. For the listeners at the rear of the hall should not experience extreme loss of sound due to inverse square law losses. To overcome these inverse square law losses, the sound should be uniformly projected. For that one, the uniform distribution of sound intensity is normally achieved by the following arrangements. By keeping large polished reflecting surfaces and sounding boards behind the speaker in the form of paraboloid reflector with the speaker at the focus and facing the audience as shown in figure. Now observe here, the arrangements of the seating and the stage should be done in such a way that the back of the speaker is covered with reflecting surfaces and sounding boards in the form of parabolic reflectors with the speaker at the focus so that the sound is uniformly projected to the audience. Low ceiling of suitable shape can also serve the purpose by reflecting the sound energy towards the audience. If we have the low ceilings as shown in the figures, then the sound produced by the source, that is the speaker, will be reflected by the low ceiling and it is projected uniformly throughout the audience. The third key feature for good acoustics is focusing of the sound to accomplish the shape of the surfaces. Even dispersion of the sound. Similar to the volume of the hall, the shape of the walls and ceilings play an important role in optimizing the uniform distribution of sound waves. In an acoustically fit auditorium or a hall, the sound waves are distributed throughout the hall uniformly. Generally, the plane surfaces will reflect the sound uniformly throughout the hall, while the curved surfaces will not distribute the sound uniformly. The presence of these curved surfaces, that is the focusing surfaces on the walls or ceilings, such as concave, spherical, cylindrical, or parabolic shapes, helps in the undesirable concentration of the sound in certain regions instead of getting uniformly distributed. This causes the zones of maximum and minimum sound. This effect is known as focusing effect. If the hall contains the curved surfaces, that is concave surface, spherical, cylindrical, or parabolic shapes, the sound gets concentrated in certain positions. Those positions are called as zones of maximum sound. In certain other places, no sound will be heard. That is the zones of minimum sound. This effect is known as focusing effect. Observe the figure, the first figure, the figure. Here, the sound gets concentrated in different positions. In some parts, more sound will be heard, while at some other positions, minimum sound will be heard. If the reflecting surfaces are present, the reflected sound waves may combine with the direct sound waves and produce stationary waves, which makes the sound intensity non-uniform. This is sometimes called as comb effect. Observe here. In the first case, the focusing effect is due to modification in amplitude. The second case is the comb effect is due to frequency of the sound waves. When they interfere each other, they result in the formation of stationary waves, which leads to non-uniform distribution of sound. This effect is called as comb effect. Now observe when direct waves and the reflected waves superpose each other, leading to comb effect. Some parts intensity is 4 times the initial intensity. At some other parts, intensity is 0, which leads to live and dead spots. The locations having more intensity are called zero intensity are called as dead spots, whereas the locations with high intensity are called as live spots. As a result of this interference between direct and reflected sound, different kinds of music sound better with different reverberation times. Now we have two factors which affects the uniform focusing of the sound. The first one is the curved surfaces on the walls and the ceiling, and second factor is the phenomenon of interference. Now let us understand the remedies to achieve uniform focusing. The proper focusing of sound is achieved by implementing the following measures. The even dispersion is achieved by avoiding any focusing surfaces and avoiding large flat areas which reflect the sound into listening area. Sometimes it is desirable to add some anti-focusing surfaces also. Now, this figure clearly shows how we can avoid unnecessary focusing. Generally, plain reflecting surfaces will lead to undesired focusing, which is generally sometimes called as fluttered echo. Whereas the angled, to avoid this unnecessary focusing of the sound, we can use the surfaces which are angled in the form of angled sidewalls, which spreads the sound and contribute to the even dispersion. Here we have one more remedy. Instead of using the plane surfaces, if we use the anti-focusing surfaces, we can achieve the even dispersion. That is, the sidewalls are broken into angled segments or anti-focusing surfaces. These two mechanisms, using angled sidewalls or in the form of anti-focusing surfaces, we can achieve the uniform distribution. This is for the sidewalls. To minimize the zones of maximum and minimum sound, that is undesired focusing, the multiple reflections from the concave ceiling is reduced by keeping the radius of curvature of the surface twice the height of the hall. The ceiling must also be, the curvature of the ceiling must also be taken into account to minimize the undesired focusing. So to minimize this zones of maximum and minimum sound, the radius of curvature of the curved surface should be kept in such a way that radius of curvature must be twice the height of the arm. The third method is for uniform focusing of sound at the audience. A parabolic surface may be arranged at the back of the speaker with speaker at its focus. This will lead to uniform spreading of sound without any effects. The dome-shaped and fan-shaped ceilings helps in reducing the interference effects. The curved surfaces and corners bounded by two walls should be avoided or at least minimized. If they are present, they are covered with the help of absorbing materials. These are some remedies which eliminates the undesired focusing of sound. The next feature is musical presence. The term musical presence implies to what extent the listener is a part of the performance and not isolated from it. If the listener is to be a part of performance, that is, if the listener has to involve in the musical concert, then the sound has to reach him at regular intervals of time properly without having dead effect or more live effect. For the sake of good clarity and articulation, the successive syllables or the musical notes must be clear and distinct without any overlapping effects. Now observe here, a long delay between the direct and the first reflected sound makes the listener feels a degree of isolation. So in order to make the listener to be a part of the performance, this delayed time should be very small. Remedy for this one is the quantitative studies indicates that the first reflected sound should arrive within 30 milliseconds of the direct sound. That the time lag of more than 50 milliseconds or more draw negative reactions from the listener. So in order to keep the audience as a part of the performance, the hall should be constructed in such a way that the time interval between the direct sound and the first reflected sound should be within 30 to 50 milliseconds. The next one is echoes. We know that an echo is repetition of the original sound by reflecting surfaces. An echo is produced when the reflecting surface is more than 17 meters away from the source of sound, or the time interval between the two sounds, direct and reflected sound, coming from the same source is about 1/10 of a second or more. When there is a gap, time gap of 1/10 of a second or more, or a distance of 17 meters between the directed sound and the reflected sound, then we hear two distinct sounds, which is called as echo. This effect is more common when the reflecting surface is curved. The remedy for the elimination of echoes is, the echoes can be, we know that echoes are caused mainly due to reflecting surfaces present in the hall. So the high ceilings and distant walls of the hall, when they are covered with sound absorbing materials, we can minimize the effects of annoying echoes. Observe the figure. Without proper acoustics, the direct sound and reflected sounds overlap each other, leading to echo if the distance and the time factor satisfies the conditions. To eliminate the effects of annoying echoes, the walls are to be covered with suitable absorbing material so that there is no overlapping of the sound. They are also prevented by avoiding the curved surfaces in the design of the hall. The next one is Eklund effect. The structures with regular spacing like staircases or a set of railings or floors or hard paved paths may produce a musical note due to regular repetition of the sound or echoes along with the original sound. This makes the original sound unintelligible and confusing. Such an annoying effect is known as Eklund effect. The Eklund effect is due to regular spacing of the structures. It may be in the form of staircase or in the form of railings or any paved paths. This regular repetition of the sound will lead to a confusion, and this confusing effect is called as Eklund effect. Now observe the figure. We have the staircase where the steps are equally spaced. Due to this equal spacing, the sound gets reflected from the each step, will leads to repetition of the sound or the echoes along with the original sound. This effect is called as Eklund effect. These sound waves are produced due to poor finishing of the floors, surface and structural effects, etc. If the frequency of this note produced at regular repetition, if it is within the audible range, then the listener will hear only this note prominently rather than the actual musical note or speech. Remedial measures for eliminating the Eklund effect is, we know that the major cause of Eklund effect is the regular spacing of the steps and the staircases. So by avoiding the regular repeating structures, we can minimize the Eklund effect. The staircases are properly covered. In the case if they have equal steps, then the steps in the staircases are properly covered with sound absorbing material like heavy carpets to avoid reflection. Observe here, the first figure shows the Eklund effect. Because of the equally spaced steps of the staircase, Eklund effect is produced, and to avoid this Eklund effect, the steps should be unequally spaced and they are covered with the sound absorbing materials to avoid reflection. Another important factor which controls the acoustics is the resonance. The acoustical property may also gets affected by the resonance within the building. Sometimes the window panes, loosely fitted wooden portions and wall separators, hollows and crevices, etc. are thrown into forced vibrations by observing the frequencies from the sound produced in the hall. When the sound starts propagating inside the hall, the loosely fit portions of the interiors of the hall thrown into forced vibrations. When the natural frequency of these vibrating surfaces match with the frequency of the sounding note, an undesirable resonance effect will be created. This resonance amplifies the vibrations and thereby producing an unpleasant sound that creates a jarring effect in the hall. Therefore, the resonance within the building has to be minimized. The remedy for this elimination of resonance is, we know that the resonance effect depends on the size of the hall. And we know that reverberation time is directly proportional to volume of the hall. So when the volume of the hall is big, in that case, the frequency of the sound, natural frequency of the vibrating hall, it will be kept far below the audible frequency range. Since natural frequency of a vibrating hall is inversely proportional to volume, if the volume of the hall is increased, the natural frequency decreases. If it falls below the audible range, then the resonance effect can be minimized. This is one theoretical way of eliminating the resonance effect. But this is not possible in all the halls because the size is the major constraint. The resonance effect can be rectified by using convex cylindrical segments of the walls and ceilings that diverges the sound and thus produces more uniform distribution. Observe here, if you use convex cylindrical segments of the walls and ceilings, then these cylindrical or convex projections will lead to uniform distribution. Observe here. The resonant vibration should be suitably damped by hanging a large number of curtains in the hall. By hanging suitable damping materials, we can minimize the resonant vibrations. In halls of large size, the resonant frequency is much below the audible limit and harmful effects due to resonance can be easily suppressed. This already we discussed. The last feature is noise insulation. Any unwanted sound that reaches the listener's ear is termed as noise. The building should be insulated properly from both external as well as internal noises. Generally, there are three types of noise. They are the noise due to air, that is airborne noise. Second one is the structure-borne noise, and third one is inside noise. Airborne noise. The noise that enters the hall from outside sources through open windows, doors, and ventilators is known as airborne noise or outside noise. This is more common in a densely populated area or a room beside an area with heavy traffic. The remedies are: the airborne sound is minimized by employing the following measures. By allotting proper places for doors and windows, by using double wall doors and windows with insulating materials in between them. Instead of using single thick layer, the doors and wall windows must be made up of double layered walls with an insulating material in between them. By using heavy glass in windows and ventilators. We know that the glass is a good absorbing material. So by using heavy glass in windows and ventilators, we can minimize the airborne noise. Air conditioning the hall and sealing the openings perfectly. By avoiding opening for pipes and ventilators. If there are any openings, that should be closed properly to minimize the extraneous noise. The proper site selection and orientation of the hall for the sound control. You know that the major cause of extraneous noise is the sound which is produced from the outside. If there are heavy traffic, then that may lead to disturbance inside the hall, the noise will be generated. To avoid that, the proper site selection is very, very important. That is usually if the parking area should be kept low, very low, the hall or the auditorium should be constructed at a place with heights relatively at a higher levels when compared to its surroundings, so that the any extraneous noise that should will be deviated away from the auditorium, as shown in this figure. The orientation of the hall also plays an important role for good acoustics. Now observe here, the structure like this will leads to the extraneous sound which is reflecting within the hall, which leads to noise. Instead of that, if the orientation of this hall is in such a way that, like in the second figure, then the sound will be extraneous sound will be simply reflected back to the outside, so that the noise level can be controlled. This is one way. If the auditorium is constructed in front of another building, then it should be constructed in such a way that it should have proper orientation. Now observe here, the third figure represents the poor focusing of the sound, whereas it can be improvised by using a curved surface. The second type of noise is structure bar noise or impact sound noise. Impact sound, and it should be insulated properly. The noise that conveyed through the structures of the buildings are known as the structural noise. The sources of this type of noise are produced either inside the building or outside the building, which create the structural vibrations. For example, the footsteps, moving of furniture, operating machinery within the hall, the steel frame, plumbing pipes, steel traffic, etc. These are all leads to the structural noise. The steel frames, plumbing pipes, these are all contributes to the structure bar noise. Remedial measures for the structural noise is the effect of structure bar noise can be minimized by applying the following ways. The main reason for the structure bar noise is continuous medium available for their travel. Thus, they can be minimized by introducing discontinuities in the path of sound. The discontinuities are provided by introducing a new layer of sound using insulating materials or in the form of construction joints in the walls to reduce the passage of sound. For example, the sound produced by water flowing in a pipe is avoided by using rubber or insulating gasket at the junctions. Use of double walls and suitable sound absorbing materials along with anti-vibration mounts such as the layer of wood, spring, shock absorbers, etc. for vibrating surfaces, such as if it is a building which contains the engines, motors, etc. They are to be mounted on the layers of wood or springs provided with shock absorbers, which reduces the structure bar noises. Covering the floor and ceiling with suitable sound absorbing materials or anti-vibration mounts. Using rigid structures so as to rest the vibrations. The mechanical equipment such as refrigerators, lifts that produce vibration in the structure. These vibrations can be checked by insulating the equipment properly. The third type of noise is which is produced inside, that is the inside noise. The noise produced inside the big halls or offices due to equipment such as air conditioners, typewriters, fans, etc. are called as inside noise. The remedies are placing the machinery on sound absorbent pads with a layer of wool or felt between them, using noise-free air conditioner, that is using the split AC, covering the floors and walls and ceilings with sound absorbing materials. Here, if the AC machinery part is placed outside, then the internal noise can be minimized. These are the key features and the remedies which leads to an acoustically good building. Thank you.